I've said many times that almost every VR game I play makes me think of an old game or genre I wish developers would bring into virtual reality. I firmly believe there is a market for VR remasters of some classic games. In particular, on my wish list today is an entire genre of games. The footage you're watching is a full playthrough of Vampire Knight on the PlayStation 2. And we're going to be discussing light gun games in general, but after the discussion is over, you'll see the rest of the game and the bonus footage. Now, I believe this genre is perfect for VR. And if you need evidence of this, look no further than Mortal Blitz. I'll put a link to my review of that game in the description. So I want to talk about a few reasons light gun games are perfect candidates to receive VR remakes. And the first thing you'll notice is that the progress of technology has really carried us past most light gun games. Technology is continually advancing, making everything around us easier and better, but sometimes things can be lost to time because of these advances. Light gun games rely on technology that isn't as readily available as it once was. So let's talk about how this works, and I'll put a link to this information in the description as well. Now you point the gun at the screen and pull the trigger, and if you hit the target on the screen, the target explodes. But how does this work? Well, to create this effect, the gun contains what's called a photodiode, and I'm not going to get too technical here. It's also called a phototransistor, and that is in the barrel of the gun. And this is able to sense light coming off of the screen. Well, the gun also contains that trigger switch, so every time you pull that trigger, it activates that photodiode. So the output of that, and then the switch is fed to the computer or game system that's controlling the game. And like I said, if you click the link in the description, you'll see a much more detailed description of this process. But the problem with that is that it's not possible to do unless you have a CRT or tube TV. None of this works with any modern flat screen television. See the problem? As more and more people move to HD TVs and toss out their old CRTs, and let's face it, most everyone has already done that, we're losing accessibility to this technology. Now, I have a nice CRT that I still use for old light gun games, but I had to search far and wide for one that I was satisfied with. I know there are new ways to play light gun games, and we have some pretty high quality modern sensors that make it possible, but that doesn't even begin to approach the possibilities that could be realized in virtual reality. You don't need a way for the gun and screen to communicate because you're inside the world. I think because of this, virtual reality is the perfect home for these light gun style games and the perfect opportunity to bring back some of the classics. Now, when thinking about games or genres that we want to bring over to virtual reality, one of the things that we have to consider is the possibility of people being motion sick or VR sick, and that's the reason you're not going to see a lot of the first-person shooters or really fast action games in VR because most people just can't handle that. But I think that light gun games are the perfect type of game to bring into VR because there's a very low probability of motion sickness. One of the major complaints from people who try virtual reality for the first time is this VR sickness. And I've seen videos and read articles about people who can't seem to stay in VR for very long before they begin to feel nauseated. I understand this can be a huge turnoff when you just want to enjoy the experience, but your body won't let you. Even if you don't reach the point of literally vomiting, you may experience headaches, nausea, profuse sweating, fatigue, and even disorientation. As a matter of fact, disorientation is at the heart of what's going on when you get sick in VR. The immersion is real enough that your brain is expecting your inner ear to send some information about the motion it's sensing, but your inner ear isn't getting the same information because you aren't actually in motion. And this disconnect between what your eyes are seeing and what your inner ear is sensing causes all these problems. But what's so great about games like Mortal Blitz, and what would be a selling point for the entire light gun genre in VR, is there's no disconnect. You're standing in one place, shooting at the enemies, and then you're teleported to the next position. The only movements you're experiencing in the game are the ones your body is actually performing. Ducking for cover, leaning around corners, and looking and aiming in the game are all perfectly in sync with your real-world motions. No disconnect, no sickness. Another thing that makes light gun games perfect for VR is that most of them are very short experiences. So light gun games are fairly short as a general rule, and that does make them perfect for VR. I don't think most video games need to be 100-hour epics. RPGs are a different story, but not every game has to be this long, especially virtual reality content. Something like Batman Arkham VR was perfect. It was an experience you could fully enjoy in one session, and it only cost $20. I've never gotten sick in a VR game, so that's not an issue for me. Even still, I don't like to spend hours upon hours inside the headset. For longer VR games like Robinson the Journey or Farpoint, I've actually split them into multiple sessions. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and there is definitely a place for these longer experiences. I mean, we're getting Skyrim and Fallout 4 in VR, and those will be great, I'm sure. So why do I say it's a good thing to have shorter VR games? Well, VR is a very solitary experience. You are completely disconnected from the world and people around you. And that's kind of the point of it, I know. But for some, it's just as fun to get some friends over, especially people who've never tried VR, and have a party. For VR to be a social thing, it works best when you have the type of experiences that allow people to get in and out of the virtual world quickly, so everyone gets a turn without waiting so long. Speaking of people that are trying something for the first time, or most likely people that don't play games very often, one of the other selling points for light gun games in VR is the fact that the controls are so simple. You don't get the full VR experience when using just a controller. Most everyone who tries it for the first time will enjoy it more if they play a game that utilizes motion control. If, and that's a big if, the controls are intuitive. If the developer has had to shoehorn in some convoluted method of locomotion because the Move controllers don't have joysticks, it's confusing and it takes some time to get used to, even for experienced gamers. Light gun games don't require that. You point, shoot, reload, and repeat. The game itself will move you to the next section. The PlayStation Aim controller is the perfect solution for games requiring you to move freely around the environment, and hopefully the next version of the Move controllers will include joysticks. But for now, it's better when the developers keep things simple. Light gun games are perfect to just pick up and play. The best and most well-received game in the PlayStation Worlds collection was London Heist, which is, at its core, a light gun game. London Heist, much like Mortal Blitz, shows how it can be even easier to control than some of the old light gun games, because everything you do is natural. You don't have to know which button takes cover or leans around a corner. You literally just duck or lean yourself, and that's what happens in the game. You don't need to have superhuman joystick or keyboard and mouse skills to be accurate. Just aim your gun and shoot. There's no disconnect between what you're doing and what you're seeing. This makes light gun games the perfect candidate for virtual reality. The last thing that we'll talk about as to why light gun games should be remastered in virtual reality, and I honestly believe this is a big selling point for a lot of things that are being released these days, is that nostalgia is a thing. As I played through Vampire Knight, there were some things that stood out to me that I remembered from that era of gaming. This was a time when graphics were just beginning to get past the blocky polygons and blurry, grainy textures. I remember how awesome we all thought these games looked at the time. Also, the "so bad it's good" voice acting has its own charm, and that was something that was present in a lot of games at that time. How amazing would it be to have Sega, Namco, or some other companies release light gun classics collections in VR? I would love to play through some House of the Dead, Virtua Cop, Time Crisis, Silent Scope, Vampire Knight, Ninja Assault, or even some older ones like Area 51. I've even played a few modern light gun games that would be amazing in VR. Aliens, Terminator, and Jurassic Park are properties that all have some pretty fun light gun games. If we can get early 80s arcade games re-released in collections on every system that comes out, why can't we get some VR collections? They would sell because nostalgia. I hope some developers see this video and give some thought to what I'm saying. I know that's improbable, but hey, this is all just for fun at the moment anyway. I love our great hobby, and I love the virtual reality subset of gaming. I believe in it, and I believe the possibilities are so much broader than most people realize. What games would you like to see in VR? Comment below and let me know. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me ramble on about light gun games, and enjoy the rest of Vampire Knight.
Coincidence. I know too. And it's you! After I'm done with you, no one will know if you existed or not.
What happened to my family?
Stupid humans! I'll show you how incompetent you are! So, that's the way it is it? Me, defeated by humans? Never!
That was scary.
He's been defeated.
He deserved it.
You still can't forget about her.
What do you know? What I have lost, the pain I have suffered. Now, let's see what a human can do.
Thank you for rescuing me.
There's no need to thank us. We're here too. They're coming.
I must admit, you have done well. Go. Humans? How vain can you be? Enough! You humans disgust me! Now it's your turn to suffer!
It's just a gun.
Thank you.
You humans make me remember I couldn't save her. This pain, to heal my pain, I shall sacrifice my soul and be a vampire. Humans, heal my soul! Please forgive me.
No! Please save him! Hasn't he suffered enough? Humans suffer, right?
Why? Why am I still alive?
Live your life as a human. Fight your soul once again.
Please wait! Sir Vampire!
You stay here. I shall go.
No! Please let me. I'll hold them off for sure. Leave at once. Sir Vampire has suffered enough.
No. Not this time.
So be it. If this is what you want, I must stop you here. Stop you here. Leave at once. Let us be as you once did 300 years ago. So you have come this far, but I cannot let you go any further.
Have it your way.
Wait! Why can't you settle your differences? Why do you hate each other?
Humans and vampires compromising. What a silly thing you say, little one. But I can't stop here. The warmth Sir Vampire has given me, I can't turn back now! little one. What you said may be true. Thank you. And farewell, my beloved vampire.
Don't die!
You, stay here.
But
We must go on from here without you. You must stay here if you don't want to die.
You mustn't die. You must live on.
So this is our destiny. I knew someday this day would come. The fate of light and shadow. Live as a vampire, as an immortal. How I have suffered. Where there is light, there is shadow. What my heart desired, you are my shepherd. Let us settle this once and for all. What we started 300 years ago. This battle is for my devoted followers. The end to all.
Our destiny is where our fate takes us.
I shall not be defeated. I am immortal. I am the vampire.
We are not what we were 300 years ago. The girl, she changed us. She gave us the warmth of that of a human. We shall disappear with you.
We have no regrets. It's all over now. Farewell.
Six months later.
I'm alive. I shall not forget. My heart shall remember all. That day, that moment, and what happened.